Hello. Again, my name is Jonathan Parrott from Planet Technologies. And yes, parrot, just like the bird. You can imagine what junior high was like. It was fantastic. Luckily, with a last name like that and being asked if I want a cracker almost every single day, I've grown a pretty thick skin, and that allows me to stand in front of all of you and not get flop sweat. So that's going to be one of our many benefits that we're going to learn about today as we go through our Copilot journey. So I've already kind of looked at some of your statistics that you've put into the form. Thank you so much for filling that out. And it seems like most of you are already starting with Copilot, which is fantastic, but that probably means many of you are going to have questions today. And I want to make sure that I can answer them. However, I believe what I've been told is that I only have 45 minutes to cover a topic that should take 6 hours. And because I know many of you want to get to lunch, that's just not going to be possible. So a few things are going to happen. Number one, if you think you have a quick question, you can raise your hand. I used to teach high school English. I'm completely used to looking for those. I will try and call on you and answer them if I can. However, please don't be discouraged if I say, hey, let's just meet out in the hallway after, and I'll be happy to answer those questions there. If you are online, I think someone's viewing the online responses somewhere. Perfect. And if I can get any questions from there, just feel free to interrupt me. Again, I taught high school English. I'm used to it. So all in all, let's start talking about Copilot. So first thing I have to do is give you some disclaimers. And of course, the mouse is not working the way that I was hoping it would. There we go. All right, disclaimers. First of all, what I'm going to be showing you today whenever we get into our demonstration portion is going to be the demo environment that I have with my company, Planet Technologies. Because of that, it may look a little bit different than what you have, or there could be some nuances, such as you're going to see that my name in it is Copilot User 2. No, I'm not being ruled by some sort of weird overlord. It's just how we're doing our demo environment. Second of all is your tenant may be a little bit different than mine. Everybody has some nuances depending on what their needs are, security procedures, and things along those. So I might show you a few features today where you're like, oh, I don't think I can do that. If you have questions about that, again, meet me out in the hallway, not for a fight, but just for some questions. Thirdly, one of the things that I want to preface, and I hate to do this, is that Copilot is always evolving. And that means that sometimes I get to learn about new features that are available along with all of you at the same time. So I'm going to be trying to be good. I tried to practice this morning to make sure everything was working, but some things might be a new fun experiment that we all get to enjoy together. Now, many of you already are using Copilot, and I am so glad that that is happening. All right, so I just want to be very clear on what Copilot is as we start going in this journey. And many of you probably already have heard some sort of tech bro try and explain to you what this whole entire system is through some very complicated procedures, talking about how it's surfacing answers from all of your files and all of your information using a large language model. But I kind of want to break that down a little bit. And really what I want to call Copilot for you is it's just, in your case, ChatGPT that's been applied to all of your organizational information and apps. As long as you have the full version of Copilot, the fully licensed version of Copilot, you are going to find that it is going to be everywhere you are in the Microsoft ecosystem. And it's bringing the power of ChatGPT with it. Now, I did hear during the keynote that many of you are going to maybe be exploring some other AI tools like ChatGPT and Claude. And I will tell you, one of the amazing abilities that Microsoft has really brought to the scene is the fact that we are able to actually utilize different models in the future. So right now you are locked into ChatGPT when you're using Copilot, but in the future, we are going to be able to bring in Claude models as well from Anthropic. And you are actually going to get to be able to choose which model that's going to be. Now, when we talk about ChatGPT and Claude, what are we really trying to get to in that case? And that's more of a question of how does this all work? Again, I can give you a very technical answer for that, but really it's just using these generative AI models to provide you the answers. And the way that you can really visualize this is that at the very core of Copilot is an LLM. Right now, that is ChatGPT. But in the future, that's also going to be Claude. But what is an LLM? It's just a collection of documentation, of information, of conversations, of books, of exchanges that have all been compiled so that way a system can read through it and make educated guesses about how it needs to respond to the questions that you're bringing up. It sits at the very core of Copilot, and that's whenever you first prompt it, what it checks first, looking for all of the information it can gather in that LLM. But now with Copilot, there's a second level, and that is your connection to your Microsoft environment. That's where it's able to look into your SharePoint files, your OneDrive files, Teams, so on and so forth, in order to gather more information to deliver answers that you need. Finally, if you have web grounding turned on, it's going to also be able to search the web as well. So when you're asking a prompt, a simple prompt to Copilot, it's actually looking at a wide variety of information, depending on how you are choosing to display that. The way I mostly like to explain Copilot, however, is not as just a tool to use, but I try and give it a personification. I want you to think of Copilot almost like an intern. Now, I'm not trying to give it some sort of personality. I'm not trying to make it a person. This is not the Terminator movies, don't worry. What this is, though, is letting you understand how Copilot really views the world. Because an intern can come into your company, and if they're attached to you, they're probably going to be given some of the same rights that you have. They might have access to the same documentation. And while they're going to be so eager to help you, Copilot is actually never going to understand the nuance of what your job is. So as we look at Copilot, we don't need to see it as something that's trying to take over our job. It's actually there to assist us and find ways to let us focus on the full reason why we were hired in the first place, allowing you to have the specialty and the skills that you bring to the table and let them flourish, and hopefully let something like Copilot actually cover the items that take up your time, that fill up your day, that you don't have to have your special skills be wasted on. That's going to become very important as we explain hallucinations in the future, fair warning. But one of the most important things about it being an intern is remembering that you are the pilot in Copilot. Copilot is there to help you, but it's still on you to still do all of the double checking of the work. If you were to ever take something from an intern and then turn it into your boss without you ever looking over it, whatever consequences would happen next are on you. And it's the same with Copilot. It can generate drafts, it can come up with ideas, but it's you that really needs to take a look at that work to really evaluate it, because again, you are bringing your specialty to the job, your work experience, and that is where you are still a major part of the process with Copilot. Let's see. That's a very important point too. I was about to skip over the slide, but I want to reference something. Copilot has access to all of the information in your tenant, but just like an intern, it's following your lead. So don't ever worry about Copilot accidentally bringing information to people that don't have access to it, or reaching out to information that you don't have access to. Copilot, like any good intern, is following along behind you. So it's going to be able to only reference that information. Now, there was a session that many of you, I think if I recognize your faces, were just in about OneDrive and SharePoint and sharing. And this is a very important element that I like to bring up. And that is OneDrive and SharePoint is exactly where you need to be saving your files. It's exactly where you need to be keeping things safe and secure and shareable. But also having good data hygiene, being able to make sure that things are shared properly, is going to be extremely important for your Copilot journey. A story that I like to tell is that I had a friend that just started at a new company. Copilot had just come out. They were a lawyer, and they were trying to look for, the legal loopholes of what Copilot could do. Now, this was very early days of Copilot. You are not allowed to ask this question anymore, but they just went in and said, "Hey, Copilot, what's my social security number?" A good piece of personal information that no system should be able to pull back. Except it did. And then he was like, wait, what? Where did you get this from? And because Copilot always brings references when it answers a question, it always brings the receipt. It was actually able to find that it had access to a document with all sorts of information, all sorts of PII, and it terrified people. They're not seeing the slides? Okay, well, I'll keep on telling my story while trying to troubleshoot at the same time. So what basically was happening is that the HR department, right here, oh, there we go. The HR department at this company had a very secure SharePoint. It had been locked down to only individuals in the HR department. However, whenever they were actually bringing up being able to bring documentation in within this very secure SharePoint, thanks for working on that. As they were bringing up this very secure SharePoint, they had a folder inside of it where the folder's permissions were everybody except external can look at this folder. Now, normally, that would not be a problem because you wouldn't necessarily stumble in to this this file that had all this information, this folder that was there. But because Copilot is actually so good at its job, it was able to reference that information and pull it back for this person, even though they didn't know they had access to that documentation. So understanding how Copilot is going to be piggybacking on your permissions is incredibly important as you go forward, not only using Copilot, but so many other of the Microsoft tools that are going to be available to you. Excellent. I'm seeing some thumbs up online. That always makes me have a better day. All right. So let's see. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Perfect question. So as we're going to be doing a demonstration, which I'm going to pivot to here in just a few minutes, basically you can ask Copilot to create things for you, whether it's in chat, whether it's in Word, and it generates these documents for you. Where do those files get saved? Does anybody know? OneDrive. And if you were over in that OneDrive session, that's probably a good kind of add-on to that lesson. So whenever Copilot's making something for you, it's already got the Microsoft mindset in mind, and it's taking all your documentation and putting it in a secure place that is private to you. And that's your OneDrive. Now, it is hidden in a little bit of a folder. I would always suggest resaving it or moving it after you've had it created. But at the same time, it's already being locked down to make sure that it's not going to accidentally be shared with other permissions. Does that answer your question? Awesome. Okay. All right. You are absolutely right. I should have done that all along. Thank you. I will do that. For those of you that didn't know, we were just asking if a file is generated by OneDrive or by Copilot, where is it being saved? Answer: OneDrive. Are we good, do you think? Perfect. Let's give this a try now. Okay, so where is Microsoft working? And the answer is pretty much anywhere where you find Microsoft products. Now, in the governmental tenant, we'll talk about this a little bit more, some of these features may not be fully available to you yet, but they are coming. And pretty much anywhere where you see a Microsoft logo, Copilot is already getting into the works. So let's go ahead and jump into a demonstration for that. All right, so first thing I want to say is when it comes to Copilot, many of you are already using it today. I'm going to ask some simple questions on where you're using Copilot. Go ahead and raise your hands or give me a thumbs up if you're on the chat in the online meeting. If you use Copilot primarily going to office.com or on the web, raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. Okay, if you're using it primarily in Teams, raise your hand or give me a thumbs up. Okay, if you're using it primarily within documentation such as Word or PowerPoint or Excel, raise your hands. Okay, so most of you, it seems, are kind of probably using it a little bit more in the actual applications. Here's the secret. You're all using the same thing. It's everywhere. So a great example of this is that I'm going to come in, and right now you should be seeing that I am using this on the online version. I went to office.com. It still works no matter how much Microsoft is trying to get us to use this m365.cloud.microsoft. And it immediately took me to my Copilot page, my new home page for Microsoft products. And from here, I can ask some pretty simple questions. So the first thing I'm going to bring up is, because I can't type and talk and use the mouse at the same time, I've kind of saved a few things here. I'm going to ask Copilot to do a very simple question for me, and that is check my last 5 emails and give me a summary of them. Now, if you are only using standard Copilot, this is probably not going to work for you. In fact, if you're only using standard Copilot, you probably have not been seeing this tab at the very top of the screen. This work web toggle is only available if you are in the full environment, if you have the full license of Copilot, and allows you to choose, hey, do I get to look at my work content, or can I only surface information from the web? If you don't see this toggle, you're only able to bring information from the web into your Copilot search. Still incredibly powerful, still great for bringing back so much information and giving you hints and clues into how you can investigate more. However, if you do see this work and web toggle, that's where you get the real superpower of being able to access all of your SharePoint and OneDrive files. So as you can see, it's already taken a look at my upcoming emails, so I can get a good bird's eye view of what is going on. And I've got a summary of these Copilot notes. That's great to see. Review the Copilot agent issue, quotation on the Dell UltraSharp monitor, blah, 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 blah. This is great. This is all wonderful. But one of the things to always reference is the fact that when we're working with Copilot, it's not just ask a question, get an answer. This isn't just a web browser where we're just putting in information and we have to do the hunting ourselves. This is a conversation that we can continue. So the next prompt I'm going to put in is going to be draft an answer for each of them and with empathy, and make sure the recipients understand I value their email and read their email. Now, I didn't have to reiterate that it's looking at the last 5 emails. I didn't have to say again, oh, you have to look at this specific email. I didn't have to point it out. What I can do is say, hey, just let's continue the conversation. And that's what we're seeing a lot of people not fully understanding. They're using Copilot for one reference and then walking away. And they don't know that they can actually develop more information, ask more questions as they're going forward. And so as you can see, for each one of those 5 emails that I just brought up, it's already writing out some responses for me that I can go ahead and put in. Now, many of you are already looking at me like, this is the simplest thing that we can do in Copilot. Why is he showing us this? This is insane. Am I really spending 45 minutes of my life on this? Well, let's talk about something that's a little bit more developed. So I'm going to come up to the right-hand side. I'm going to push this new chat button, which is basically like if you've ever watched the Men in Black movies, the neuralizer. It's going to kind of erase Copilot's memory of this conversation. Start brand new, start fresh. And now I'm going to ask it a little bit more of a deeper question. And this is actually something that I use on a day-to-day basis. Oh no, so many windows. There we go. We will get there eventually. There we go. Nope. I needed a lapel mic for this one. Now, if you filled out the email that I asked for in the survey earlier, you are going to get an example of this prompt, but I'll read it for you so you don't have to squint too much. Create me a well-organized and formatted overview to start my day and be my assistant. Make it visually appealing with section headers and spacing between each section so I can read it easily and use plenty of emojis to give it personality. Tell me the weather forecast in Fahrenheit in my city today and the next 3 days. Tell me about any major breaking news on the national or local level that I need to be aware of before I start my day. Tell me about upcoming national holidays in the United States and India. List all the events in my calendar, summarize my calendar items, so on and so forth. I won't read the whole thing, but basically what I've done is I've said, hey, I'm not going to use this again like a web browser. Oftentimes in our head, we have approached Copilot as if we need to have the same mentality of when we put into Google what we're looking for. Okay, what am I trying to look for? This is the question. These are the key topics. I'll only throw in the key topics and I'll let Copilot bring back what's there and I'll sort through all the information it has. You don't have to do that with Copilot. It's an intern. Abuse it. Give it so much work and let it come forward for you in what it can pull. Now, will it take a few minutes? Absolutely. But what it's going to come back with is going to be something that is more dramatic and exactly what you are looking for. And because we already have that mentality of starting the conversation, if it's not right the first time, tell it why it's wrong. Tell it how to fix it. And you can actually develop more and more as you go. Now, I've been really trying to vamp here to give it some time so it can really impress you. Let's see if it's going to pull through. Like a good intern, it knows its place. So I said that. I'll put it out there. Again, that's John Parrott. Just look me up later. Come on, Copilot. Make me look good here. I think so. It's always listening. I do see that's a hand raised, and I'll go ahead and answer a question while we wait. That is an excellent question that I can't show you until it's completed, but we'll get there in just a second. Another hand in the back. So for those of you online, I've received a question that IT people get upset when I bring this up sometimes. So I'm sorry to North Carolina IT right away. The question is, I need to get a little over here. Hang on. The question is, hey, I'm trying to get Copilot to interact with other things. I want it to take tasks that I have and actually bring those tasks into other applications like Microsoft Planner. How can I make that happen? Answer is standard Copilot is getting there, but it's not there yet. Even inside of the commercial environment where all sorts of new things are coming out, we are not seeing that. We're seeing that same problem across the board. But there is an answer, and it's called Microsoft Agents, which I'm going to have to tack on 3 more hours now to this session. Everybody get comfortable. But if Copilot Chat is an intern, agents are like contractors. They're highly specialized. You can give them specific tasks that are very complex to do. And if any of you are familiar with Power Automate, it actually piggybacks on that system. So you can actually train an agent to say, hey, here's all the tasks that I have. Fill out planner tasks for me with this information, or fill out a SharePoint list with all this information. An agent that I've developed is because I have a personal, working in an IT as long as I've had, I have a personal issue with IT tickets, because some of you, whenever you fill out an IT ticket, give the least amount of information possible. You tell me, oh, my computer's broken, and that's it. But I built an agent that could take a conversation that it had with a user. The agent is trained to be not fixing the problem, but listening, which in many relationships, I wish that we could also program that into our partners. But it listens to the problem and asks follow-up questions. So when somebody says, my computer's broken, it asks, what's broken about it? And it will say, oh, well, my monitor's not turning on. Well, have you tried turning it on and off? Have you attempted to check the cords? Things like that. I'm going to go back here so you hear me a little better. Okay, I will get to that in just a second. But what we find with agents is that that agent that I was just talking about takes all of the answers that that person has given, automatically creates, hey, here's a short list name for the problem that it's having. Monitor is broken. Then it takes all of the information that was gathered through that conversation and makes a blurb so that the IT professional can actually read that out through that conversation. And when they come to help you, they are already prepared for what they need. They're bringing the extra cord. They're prepared to look at where that power button is to turn it on and off. They are ready to help. And that's where agents are really going to come in and take what we're seeing here to the next level. All right, I am going to get to the questions online, but first thing I want to show you is this delivery that it gave me. So as you can see, it's very personable, calling me Copilot User 2. That's my secret name. But you can see there's my weather. It knows that I'm in Raleigh right now, so it automatically brings that up. There's my breaking news. There's my upcoming national holidays. What's going to be on my calendar? What happened yesterday? I went to a Simon Sinek meeting. Next week, from leadership, these are the emails that I need to look at, so on and so forth. And so this is a really great prompt, and I want to make sure that I run this every single day. So at the very top, I'm going to come to where this message is, and after it's run, after it's had its first completion, I can come in and click this little Save Prompt button right here. Now this prompt has been kind of brought to this little menu. I can't edit it anymore, but what I can do is name it. I can say, good morning. And I misspelled it, but you know what? We're going with it. And now that's been saved in my prompt gallery. Next question I'm going to hear, where's my prompt gallery? Whenever you start a brand new chat, you can click on these three dots right here. And there is going to be first the Microsoft prompts that give you some great ideas on how to use Copilot, but then you're going to see your prompts. And as you can see, I might have run this session more than once. I promise this is special what we have, I really do. But it's a great way to make sure that prompt is there. And as soon as I click on it, it doesn't just run the prompt, it puts it inside of the area. So if I need to make a change or an adjustment, or I want to go ahead and add something onto it just for this run, I can in an instant. Okay, I am just running out of time. Let's hear some questions from online. So the question is, in case no one heard online, is that basically if we have confidential information that we have to work with within our own jobs, can Copilot help us with that? That's a great question. It's really kind of down to your level of comfortableness with it. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, this AI is here to help you. And if you feel uncomfortable using it, I would not say push yourself to try. I would say there's probably tons more tasks that are outside of the confidentiality that you can use Copilot for to free up time to focus on those. However, if you are comfortable with Copilot, if you've done the research and you realize that Microsoft has done an amazing job of taking everything they do with security, how it piggybacks on the same permissions that you have within your SharePoint and your OneDrive, if you're saving these files already within the Microsoft ecosystem, there is no reason not to use Copilot to help with that. Because one of the things I haven't gotten to in my slideshow yet, we might not with this time, is the fact that Copilot is never sending your information outside of your company. Now, ChatGPT and Claude, if you're using that for your personal life, all of that information is being sent back to those companies so that way they can train their models and make them better. However, with Copilot, Microsoft said no. They don't even get your information. It stays within your tenant, within your organization. Those prompts and those answers never go anywhere else. So that's one of the extra levels of security that we really try and preach about when it comes to Copilot, is the fact that, yes, these other companies are coming in to help you. They might have models, they might have some steps that are above the current version of Copilot you have, but the security that you have in the Microsoft ecosystem is there with Copilot. And that's something that we can't guarantee with any other tool. I do see a hand up. Is it a quick one? Okay, I'll take you and then I'll take another online question. Yes. I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to watch the review. No, of course, we can go ahead and show this one more time. So when you start a brand new chat, you should see that it says, file insights, inbox triage, all of this jazz. There should be a 3 dots here. And that's where you can see your prompts here at the very top of your screen. You're welcome. All right, next online question. I'm going to, yeah, thank you. No, keep on me. You and I were becoming friends here. I don't know your name yet, but I appreciate you so much. All right, so the question is, if I've had a previous chat with Copilot, can Copilot reference it? In today's work in GCC, which is your tenant, which is the governmental control, the version that you have, it can't do that natively. Am I not entertaining enough? No. So for those of you online, someone was listening to like Simon Sinek while listening to me at the same time. They're really trying to double fist education right now. So the question was, can we go back and pull information from past conversations with Copilot? The answer is natively, not right now. We'd have to go back, copy that information, paste it inside of the chat, so that way the new version of Copilot, the new conversation I'm going to have, has that past information. However, in the future, you are going to have something called Copilot memories. You're going to have something called Copilot history, where actually Copilot is going to learn things about you and be able to reference past information. So that way you can always have Copilot be fully knowledgeable about the relationship that you're building with it. Again, this is not Terminator, but it is there. So for example, one of the things that I always like to show is that in this future version, I can program in with Copilot in a conversation, oh, by the way, I'm allergic to pecans. And then if later I say, hey, I need a recipe for a pecan pie, it says, whoa there, you're gonna die. I can't help you with that because you're allergic. But guess what? Here's alternative recipes for you to use for a pecan pie that don't involve pecans. So that is coming in the future. And it's one of the things I also want to reference on why it's important to start building your Copilot skills now. Because some of you might have this headspace of, Copilot's not finished. It's still a work in progress. I'm going to wait until it's actually fully done. It's never going to be done. I'm exhausted trying to keep up with what's going on with Copilot. It keeps on revolving and changing, and that's one of actually the assets of the Microsoft 365 system. You are not stuck with just a product and you have to wait for it to die before buying the next version. Because we are on Office 365, because we're constantly getting updates, you're getting the best and the brightest, and while it might be behind the commercial environments, it's going to be the security that you need as well and within a governmental tenant. So therefore, in the future, it's coming. We've seen it in commercial. It works. It's scary, but it's awesome. But you should practice now with what you have. So when these new features come in, you're not having to start at zero. You can already be heading down the track, and this will give you a turbo boost to the way you do your job. The question is, how do you know if you have a licensed version of Copilot or an unlicensed version of Copilot? We're going to see how good I am here. Not that good. Let's see. Oh, yes, yes, yes. All right. I'm going to get your business card after this. All right. The best way to know right now if you have the the full version or just the full license or the standard version is this tab up here at the top. If you only have the standard version, you are not going to see that work in web toggle because it's automatically going to be set to web. It's only going to be able to search information on the web. It can't find your files. It can't find your emails. But when you see that toggle, that means you have the full license. And if you don't, start nagging your boss about it. Let's get this started, okay? There's too much good going on to get you left out. I'll take another online question. In the future, yes. In the future, you are going to be able to take a prompt and actually schedule it to run for you. For example, in my own environment, that good morning prompt I show you, I have that run at 6 o'clock every day so that when I sit down at 8:05, 8:10, it's already there waiting for me. So that is something that's coming in the future. Anything else? That is a big question that I would need to ask further questions to figure out. The question online was brought up was, hey, I tried to build an agent to do this. I can't seem to get it to be done. Is there limitations? That would require me to, guys, I hope you're here to be ready here by midnight. Like maybe you'll get home by 1 a.m. But there are multiple different types of agents. There are some simple agents that a standard user can make, And there's advanced agents that you're probably going to want to team up with AI, with your IT department to work on as well. So that kind of falls into that view. If you want to talk about your agent ideas and where they can fit in, find me in the hallway. All right, I feel like this has derailed a little bit because I didn't even get to do most of my demonstration. But here's what I'm going to say, and these are probably the most sincere words that I can give you when it comes to Copilot. There's a lot of discourse when it comes to AI, and I understand it, and I feel it too. But here's what I'm going to say. The Model T was not fuel efficient. The first airplane was not able to get off the ground that high. It takes time to find ways to do things to be the right way. And what that takes is people iterating on it and changing it and making sure that their voices are being heard in what is needed and what needs to happen next. So when it comes to your own work experience, try and figure out everything you can about AI if you have access to it. Try and understand it, and don't just say, I'm going to be worried about it instead of learning about it. Because as a person, the more you understand something, even if you don't like it, the more understanding that you have on why you don't like it. And it's not just a blind assumption. And I think what you'll find is if you're willing to actually take the time to get to understand the tool, you can say, this is my comfort spot. This is how I want to use AI. I don't want AI to take my job, but I do want AI to help me do my job to the maximum capacity that can be done. And that is where I've found my sweet spot. I don't have it write my PowerPoint slides, but what I do is I write the PowerPoint slides myself, and I give it to AI and say, hey, obviously my fashion sense is off, so is my slide building skills. Can you make this pretty? And it does that for me, because that's my comfort zone. When it comes to documentation writing, you'd think as an English teacher, I'd be great at it. There's a reason I'm not an English teacher anymore. But what it can do is give me that second set of eyes. It can look over the work that I've done, give me suggestions, give me clues, and in some cases, rewrite it in ways that are going to be more attuned to my audience. One of the things I didn't get to today was I had a document that I had that is very standard for me. It's something that I share with a lot of people. It's a communication. But because I have Copilot, I can say, hey, I'm going to North Carolina. Take this communication, take this information that we have about it, and rewrite it specifically for that audience. And it shows me things that I didn't even know was going on because it has access to meetings, it has access to chats that I've had, it has access to emails, and it can bring in information that I wasn't aware of and make me better for knowing it. But I also have to do the work. Remember, you are the pilot, and therefore, everything Copilot makes, you still need to be in charge of. You still need to understand, read through it, take that time, because it's going to make you better as well.